Good morning, all. In today's session, we are going to discuss about Python. So, before we are going to learn about data science, as a prerequisite, we must have a knowledge on the Python. In order to fulfill our prerequisites, we are going to cover about Python today. I mean, of course, it is not possible to complete in one session. We are going to take the multiple sequences session for Python. So, as first of all, we are assuming that there are people who knew about the Python and all. We are assuming that people don't know anything about the Python. Even we are assuming that they don't know anything about how to install the Python. So in this session, we are going to cover about what is Python, what is the overall view about the Python, and how to install the Python, and all things we are going to discuss in today's session. So as we said that, so Python is an interpreted. Interpret means we can able to easily interpret, we can able to understand, object oriented. We can easily refer from one class to other class, one object to another class. It is a high level programming language. It is a high level programming language. Generally, programming languages are three different types. One is low level programming language, assembled programming language, and third is high level programming language. Whereas in low level programming language, which is in the form of binary format, which is in the form of binary format, is nothing but zeros and ones. Zeros and ones. So low level program is the binary format, which is nothing but zeros and ones of the given data. So only computer systems can able to understand this programming language, where humans like us cannot able to understand this language. Whatever the program you've written, any language, for an example, you have written a program in Java language, or you have written a program in C language or C++ language. At the end, it is going to be converted into low-level programming language and will execute in low-level programming language. And that is the meaning of low level. So assembled programming language, where we have a microprocessor, microcontrollers, eight five chips, basically 8054, 8086. You might have studied in your BTech microprocessor, microcontroller. Basically, these assembled programming languages help us in generate the chips, Intel chips, Qualcomm chips, this kind of thing. Where do we use this thing? High level programming language, where everyone can able to understand a readable format, where we can able to write the code. Some of the examples for either programming like Java, .NET, C++, C language, Python. These are the some of the examples for the high level programming language. So now the course which you are going to learn about Python, it is also a high level programming language. It is also high level programming language. So it is a high level programming language. Here in this case, high level built-in data structure. So data structure is nothing but some built-in functions which are available, like tuple, set, dictionary, and kind of list. So how to these data structures will help us to process the numerical data as well as string data. So, sir, you may ask the question, sir, what do you mean by numerical data? What all comes under the numerical data? We will discuss in the coming sequential session. So, it is a high level built-in data structures. Data structures, these are the four data structures: tuple, set, dictionary, list, and all. These data structures are helping us to process the numerical and character data. Other name of character data is also called as the string data. So string data. So these are inbuilt, which are defined. No need to built-in defined functions. These are numerical functions. String functions are based on the numerical and string function. These functions, what are these functions? Is tuple, set, dictionary, and list. These functions are built in on top of the numerical and string. So what does it mean? How does each one works? We will discuss in the separate session for this one. Okay. So whatever the Python programming language, which is a human readable syntax and well documented. So everyone, whatever for an example, a is equal to 10. What does it mean, guys? What does it mean? General meaning. 10 is a value which is assigned to A, which is assigned to A. So as it is a one of the command or syntax in the Python. As a user, will you able to read this code? Will you able to read this syntax? Definitely, yes, we can able. Whatever the program, whatever the lines of code we are written in the Python, users can able to read and write this syntax. One of the most easy language as compared to any other language. It's built in this and documented Python. I mean document. It is a well documented data. It is well documented data. Uh, well documented data. So what does it mean here? Well documented data. Whatever the for each and every information which are well documented available in the given data. I mean is already available in the given data. So generally you may ask the question, sir, what is the Python? Python is a general purpose and high level programming language. All companies are using Python programming language. All companies are using the Python programming. All companies, multiple companies, all the companies are using to develop, testing, and maintain the application. And maintain the application. So in general, I'm talking about only the Python. I'm not talking about with respect to the data science at all. I'm just talking about the Python. So all companies, for an example, we are using the HDFC Bank. For HDFC Bank, we need one application for one application, net banking application. Maybe it's a net bank. So in order to build this application, first of all, we need to develop an application. Once we develop application directly, we cannot jump into production environment or live. So we need to test whether this application is working correctly or not. Once everything test, once it go into the production environment, we need to maintain the application without any issues. Maintain support basically. Maintain is nothing but support an application, right? Support an application. Like let me give an example. Okay, that is what I mean. So support an application. In the real world, you might have seen that. For an example, you said that, sir, something is not working. Maybe in your application, maybe VDI. In real world, VDI is an application. I'm not sure whether it developed the Python at all. VDI is an application. So everyone know about the VDI. So virtual desktop integration basically. So the VDI in the real world, whatever VDI, someone has developed this application. They might have tested whether working or not. So the maintain, now they are maintain the application support. Suppose if VDI is down, you may definitely raise an immediate IT request, right? So boss, VDI is down. Can you please look into that? That means they're providing the support. That is nothing but maintenance. So these two phases, develop and test phases, before going to production environment, these two places plays a vital role. So for each piece or each segment, each piece or each segment of the code will be always tested. Then only it will go into the production environment. Okay, every Fortune 500 companies, everyone are using the Python nowadays. Everyone are using the Python. So, okay, high level means, what is the high level? We have said the high level. As we mentioned, high level means human readable language. High level, any high level programming is nothing but human readable format or human readable language are easy to understand. Easy to understand. Human readable language as well as easy to understand. Everyone can able to understand. Low level language means binary, as we already we mentioned that. So mission readable language, a system readable language, mission readable language. So which are mission readable languages are binary format like bits, zeros and ones, zeros and ones. Okay, where are we using the, where are all the Python using the application level? Desktop applications, where we are using the Python, where we are using the Python, where are we using? Where are we using? Where are we using? Maybe at desktop to build the desktop applications. maybe web applications, maybe big data related applications, maybe machine learning applications, ML, maybe data science application, DS, data science, maybe many other applications, desktop, web applications, big data, machine learning, DS, data science, and all. So, what is the history of Python? History of Godeman he started implementing in the Godeman Reason is the scientist who created this tool. Currently, he is working with Microsoft. He's working with the Microsoft. So, and he started implementing the Python in the year of 1989. So, it is a open source. It is a open source. Open source is nothing but open source. It is a open source. Open source is nothing but we can download freely and customize the code as well. Open source. General people doubt about the open source. What do you mean by open source? Open source is nothing but download freely and customize the code as well. Customize the code as well. I mean, customize the code as well means we need to customize the code, whatever the code we need to write. Why the name Python? This is open source where we are using application very clear. Why the name Python? So the interesting part, people is nothing but Python is nothing but people thinks about it as a snake name. It is a snake name, but that is not the true. So Python named is after a TV show called as Monty Python Circus Flying Circus. Monty Python Flying Circus. From there, so from he's inspired that show. He likes a lot about that show. He inspired that show. From there, he got a name of Python. From there, he got the name of Python. Generally, people thinks about snake. That is not the true case. That is not the true case. Okay. Now, any questions, guys? Any other examples? Any questions and any other example? So, okay, any questions? So, this is the meaning of Python. So, in general, Python have two different versions, such as Python 2 and Python 3. In general, Python have two different versions, such as Python 2 and Python 3. So, in this Python 2 and Python 3. So what do you mean by Python 2? What do you mean by Python 3? So of course, now after 2020, Python is not supporting the Python 2 version. Currently, we have only one version such as Python 3 everywhere. Currently, we have only one version such as the Python 3. So, okay. Okay, let's say what is the history of the Python. So Python, as we already started, he started implementing the year of 1989. The first version he has released that is called as Python 1.0 in the year of 94, January 94. It got plopped. It got plopped. No one have used it. So in 97 he have released another version. Again it got plopped. In the year of 20, I mean in the year of 2000 September, he have released another version that's called as Python 1.6. Everyone feels really difficult to write the code in the Python. So to enhance the technical enhancement proposal TEP, to enhance the existing Python language, he have used the to enhance the technical enhancements, to control the technical enhancements, to improve the technical enhancements. He started using the Python 2 in 2000. As compared to Python 1, Python 2 is much better, but code complexity is also very high. In the year of 2008, December 2008, in the year of December 2008, he started implementing Python 3. So the main advantage of Python 3 as compared to Python 3, reusability of code, reusability of the code complexity is less, and moreover execution time is much faster. Execution time is much faster. Execution time is much faster. Reusability of the code complexity, execution time is much faster in the given data. Over the period of time, every month or every quarter, somewhere other way around, he started doing some enhancements, some improvements. Currently, in the year of 2021, they have released Python 3.8. They have released Python 3.8 2021. Now current version we are using the Python. So after 2007 or 2007 2.7, there is no further version because Python stopped giving the support for the Python 2. Currently, which is the only one version which is available, Python 2 3. There is no Python 2. Now, any questions or any doubts about the Python? Any questions or any doubts about this one? Any questions or any doubts?
Koti, you mentioned that Python is a high-level programming language with dynamic semantics. What does it mean?
Dynamic
What does
semantics. Dynamic semantic is nothing but where we can change dynamically the code process. Dynamically we can call the functions. Semantic means calling basically. Dynamic calling, dynamic writing the code, reusability. That is the meaning of reusability. Wherever you want, you can use dynamically. You can call the functions whenever you want, well, you required. That is the meaning of dynamic semantic. Okay, perfect. Now, so you may people doubt about, sir, what is the Python 2? To whom we have to learn? I mean, who has to learn the Python 2? And this kind of thing. So some people still have to learn the Python 2. Python 2, I mean, to make the development process much easier as compared to earlier. For that purpose, we have used the Python 2. So it is implement technical details of Python enhancement proposals to improve the enhancement of the existing code. So after no longer, that's what after 2020 it will got disconnected. So still some people has to learn Python too. For an example, some of the DevOps engineers, some of the tools like a DevOps who uses the DevOps, I mean DevOps engineers, such as like a Puppet and Ansible, they have connected config manager tool, they connected only with a Python 2. But slowly they are also migrating to Python 3. For existing projects, they are using the Python 2. Still, if you want to work in the Puppet and Ansible, you must have a knowledge on the Python 2. You must have a knowledge on the Python 2. You must have a knowledge on the Python 2. For an example, your existing application developed based on the Python 2. If you would like to support on the project, then you must have a knowledge or you must have to learn about the Python 2. Some of the third-party software which are not able to port to Python 3, which has ported to only Python 2, then you don't have any other options. You don't have any other option. Then you need to learn about Python 2. That means only in the specific cases where we have a only company requirement, every company or current company requirement. In that process, in the specific conditions only you are going to learn about Python 2. Otherwise, you are not going to learn about Python 2. So as I mentioned, Puppet and Ansible, I think as of my knowledge, very few people are using the Ansible. So instead of Ansible, they come up with the DevOps engineer come up with the Terraform. Terraform supports based on the Python 3. Still maybe sometime, maybe next 1 or 2 years, maybe these hurdles may happen for Python 2. After that, after maybe 1 or 2 years, no one is required to learn about Python 2. Everyone is going to learn about only Python 3. Of course, for us as a data scientist, it is not required to learn about Python 2 at any cost. What is Python 3? Python 3 is to fix the problems. What are the problems that are occurring in Python 2? To fix those problems, we are going to use the Python 3. For an example, reusability of the code is not possible in Python 2, whereas in Python 3, reusability is one of the. And for execution of the code, it will take a lot of time in Python 2. So execution of the code is much lesser time. It takes lesser time as compared to Python. And the most important point, third point, most important point is code complexity. it is really high difficult to understand normal people like us in Python 2. Code complexity is very less in Python 3, Python 3. So whatever the code you have written in Python 3, it is not possible to write in Python 2. Backward incompatibility is not possible. But whatever the code you have written in Python 2, that we can easily convert into Python 3. And main reason why we are using the Python 3, some of the data science tools, modern techniques like AI, machine learning, data science, all activities we are going to use the Python. And for Python 3, we have a lot, I mean, user community also very high support. We'll get the user community also very high. We get a lot of support from the community also. As compared to earlier versions, Python 3 is easier to learn, easier to remember. So we can easily develop the, we can easily we can easily tie up with the Python 3 with other tools. We can develop the, we can able to connect to the Power BI. With the help of Power BI, you can build the dashboard, Power BI dashboards in Python itself. We'll show you that in our class. So maybe Spark, maybe MySQL. So the reason why I am talking about we need to start SQL, because most of the times in general our data stores in one database, right? Which is nothing but MySQL in our case. So from MySQL to we need to connect with the Python to get the data. We need to connect with the Python, right? Then we process the data here. Then only you'll get the real-time field, right? So if I'm taking the flat files and I explain in the Python, then it may not work for you. So we need to look at a database. The database, we feel that MySQL is a database. From MySQL to we connect with the Python, and then we can start the data processing. And then we can start the data processing here in this case. Okay. So it easily mixable with the other language, like Spark is other language, MySQL can easily mix, or maybe we have the TensorFlow which is developed that, or maybe PyTorch, some of the application where we can use the data. So NLTK is the natural language toolkit to process the text to data. For processing text to data we can use. For processing text data we may use this. For processing text data we may use this. Now, any questions, guys? Any doubt on this point? So, any question? We are, yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, right here, put it in here.
Yes,
Uh,
Venkat.
so the version 3, Python version 3 is released in 2021, right, as you said?
Latest version 3.8, yeah.
Yeah, 3.8 is in our course means focusing on the Python 3. But
Correct.
most of the applications, right, already existing applications are part of Python 2, right? So you feel that it will be better to learn both or Python 3 alone? Or we should be knowing that what are the differences between Python 3 and 2, right? So that will be predominant questions will be expected from the interview.
So you mean to say that what could be the difference between Python 3 and Python 2? That's what you're asking, right?
Yeah, only because that is one object. One thing is that it does not have any backward compatibility, right? Python 3 to
Correct,
Python
correct.
2. So if
Yes,
you learn
correct.
Python 3, suppose if interviewer asking anything about Python 2, because already existing
Then,
language
then
they
that will be the next
get up.
slide.
Okay,
That is
okay.
the next slide.
Oh,
That is the next slide. That is the next slide. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So, VK, right? You asked the question, VK, right? Or Venkata Chalapati asked the question. Who asked this question? Hello, who asked this question? VK or Venkata Chalapati?
This is Ranga.
Okay, Ringa, sorry. So I heard kind of name Venkat. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So now people are okay. Now, as we said that okay, we are clear about the Python. Now we have a question about what is the differences, some differences between Python 2 and Python 3. So the point which I've raised is a valid point. It's really valid point. So as sometimes in interview to make irritating us, is want to irritate us, so then you might ask the question. So some basic comparison and all between the Python 2 and Python 3, whereas in the Python 3 which was released in the year of 2008, Python 2 released in the 2. Suppose one of the basic functional difference, for an example, if you look into the print here, can anyone tell me what is the difference between these 2 points? Neeraj, can you tell me the difference between these 2 points? Here we are using the for
In Python 3 bracket.
parenthesis, not the bracket, parenthesis. Where is the parenthesis? Whereas in Python 2, we are preferring without parenthesis. Print hello, print space hello. Functional print of hello, print space hello. Okay, so we don't use, when you are printing something, we don't use the parenthesis bracket in Python 2. We use the parenthesis bracket. So when two integers, two numbers, maybe two integer, 2 is one integer value, 5 is another integer value. When two integers divided, when two integers are divided, 2 is one integer value, 5 is another integer value. When two integers are divided, you will get a float value, maybe 0.5. Not only this, 10 by 5 also you will get the 2.0. Decimal, float is nothing but decimal. When two integers are divided, you always provide the integer value. So you need to write the provide integer value, int of 10 by 5. Int of 10 by 5. There is no parenthesis bracket, int of 10 by 5. Float of 10 by 5. Like you need to pass the, always you need to specify the type in Python 2. Like this, the way which I specified here. In Python 3, there is no need to specify. Directly, when you divide the two integers, by default, you will get an output of float. That is 0.4 or 2.0. When two integers are divided in Python 2, you have to specify the either integer value or float value, like the way we have just created. Int space 10 by 5 or float space 10 by 5. So now tell me, in terms of the code complexity, the first portion is the easy or the second portion is easy for the division of integers? Which one is easy?
First one. First one.
First one. The first one is easy because first one, no need to specify the type, right? Here we have to specify the type. So next, one more point. In Python 3, for string value, by default string stored as a Unicode. For an example, hello, by default it will store in the Unicode format. Uniform. I mean, Unicode is nothing but single separate formats or strings format, codes format. Here to store Unicode, you need to specify u hello. U hello. Then only Python knew about it is a Python 2 knew about it is a string. Here you just specify by default store in the Unicode format. As a user, no need to specify the u here. System need Python need to know, right, whether string, I mean, how does Python know about it? So it takes the u in general Python 2. U is nothing but Unicode. If it is a u in front of the string, it assumes that it is a string or character value. So Python 3 no need to specify the u. By default, it automatically stores as a Unicode. Now here also, if you look into the code complexity, here also Python 3 is much advanced as compared to Python 2. As compared to Python 2. The syntax point of view, syntax is very easy and understandable format. The syntax of Python compared to that, as you look into here, compared to the Python 3 is a bit difficult to understand. Some people, what do you mean by u? Why are you specifying every time integer and float? If I give the print space hello, what it assume? Whether printing or something, people get confused, right? So a bit difficult to understand Python syntax. Python to syntax, bit difficult to understand. Okay, so rules of ordering. Rule of ordering. Rules, I mean, otherwise simple rules we have, no need to complex rules and all. Rules of ordering very complex, right? String for you need to write u, for every time you divide the integer you need to write the type integer and all. Rules, these are the some rules you need to follow. Print, you need to print, should be there, space should be there, some rules should be followed, they put. So rules of ordering comparison is very complex as compared to Python 3. Okay, iteration. Next, some iterations. Okay, iterations. There is a function. If you want to iterate something, we are using the new range function. So range comparison only, range function. Here also there is x range. Basically, range function means generate the range of values. For an example, range of 10. It generate the 10 values. Generate the 10 values 0 to 9. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in general, 0 to 9. In general, Python value, Python starts from the index Python value always index position first value. In Python, both in Python 2 and Python 3. In Python, the first value always starts from 0. The first value always starts from 0. Always in Python, the first value always starts from 0. Always starts from 0. So there is extra, I mean x range, all this thing. For an example, x, all the functions which are denoted, the most of the functions x started with the x. It should be enclosed in the parentheses. It should be enclosed in notations, separate notations we have for exceptions and all. Exceptions basically will help us to debug the code or to catch any specific errors. For that purpose, we are going to use the exceptions. Leak of variables. The value of variables never change throughout the program or throughout the code. If we write the code within the loop or of a variable, or if we write the code for a variable outside the loop, the value nature or value type, variable type will change every time. Will change every time. So the leak of variables, the value of variables never changes here. The value of global variable will change while using the inside the for loop. So, I mean, within the loop, for loop we have written, the value of type changes. For an example, maybe a is equal to 10. It may be, for an example, let's say, imagine it is an integer. This is the outside of the loop. If I write something for loop and you have written the a is equal to 10.10, maybe likely chances it may change to float or it may change to boolean. No guarantee, it may change. That's what it may change. So it may change. There is no guarantee it may change always, but it may change. A is equal to 10 for a is equal to float value or boolean of the given data. This is the one of the biggest concern we have. Okay. So backward compatible, not difficult to port from Python 2 to Python 3, but whatever the code you have written in Python 3, it is impossible to write in, it is not possible to write in Python 2. So most of the developers as well as most of the data scientists are using the libraries, most of them. So there are a lot of libraries which are available for Python 3. All the data science required libraries which are available in Python 3, which are not available in Python 2. As I just mentioned in the last slide, such as like NLTK, I think some of them NLTK, TensorFlow, PyTorch, integration with the Power BI, Spark, MySQL. MySQL is available in Python 2 also. These things which are available in Python 3, which is not available in Python 2. For an example, we have a kind of scikit-learn. Scikit-learn is one of the example. So what do you mean by scikit-learn? Scikit-learn is nothing but to perform machine learning operations, we are going to use the scikit-learn. To perform machine learning operations, we are going to use the scikit-learn. So scikit-learn application or library which is not available in Python 2. Or maybe some example like TensorFlow, PyTorch, NLTK, TextBlob, Fast AI, or Stanford AI. These are some of the libraries to perform the text data or image analysis, which is available only in Python 3. Latest libraries which are supporting to data science world, which is not available in Python 2. That is one more reason we do prefer to use the Python 3 rather than Python 2. Rangaraja, is it clear? So what is the comparison between Python 2 and Python 3? And what is some basic difference between Python 2 and Python 3?
Yeah, it's clear.
So if someone asks you in interview perspective also, can you tell me some differences between Python 3 and Python 2? Python, for an example, functional point of view, we can use a print function. For an example, print function. Print take the parents bracket in Python 3. Does print take the parents bracket in Python 2? No, right? So by default, string store as a Unicode in Python 3. You have to specify the U before starting the string in Python 2. Maybe exception should be always written in the parents in Python 3. Exception should be always written in the notations in enclosed should be enclosed in notations. Okay, backward compatibility is not possible from Python 3 to Python 2, but whatever the code you have written in Python 3, we can able to write in Python 3. Okay. Okay, any questions? Any doubt?
Backward compatibility. So,
Backward compatibility means whatever the, for an example, you have written some code. For an example, maybe let me tell you about, okay, what is that? For an example, let me show you now. For an example, let me explain import RE. RE means regular expression. Regular expression. Basically, regular expression will help us to clean the text data. So this function, this package, which is not available in Python 3, Python 2. For an example, RE dot, for an example, A is equal to KSR is one of the best institute. Best institute for data science in Bangalore. So this is the Bangalore. Okay, this is the one text data for an example. So now what I want to do, I want to replace Bangalore with India. For an example, Bangalore with India. So RE dot sub. RE dot sub. Sub means find and replace. Find and replace. Basically, sub function what it does, replace. First, it find the anywhere Bangalore. Bangalore, it will replace with the India. Then it will go with the India. Then it will go with the yeah. So RE dot sub Bangalore, comma India, comma A. So what does it mean? First, it is substituting. Substituting means first it will find a string of Bangalore. Wherever you find the Bangalore, replace with India from the text of A object. A object. From the text of A object. A object. Bangalore with India in the A object. Now the question coming to us, suppose this is the code which I have written in Python 3. Someone asked you to write the same code in Python 2. This function is not available in Python 3. Maybe some other function we might have. Maybe import OS function we have. So you might ask, sir, what do you mean OS? Import. Import is nothing, importing a specific package or library into Python code. Import is nothing, invoking a particular library into Python module. For invoking the module, we are going to use a function called import statement. So what are the different statements we have? Might ask a question. We'll discuss that. So OS dot maybe OS dot find. Then you can write this kind of. So that's what you are writing single line code, the text data. Maybe you need to write in the same line, same format. Lot many things will be there. That is what the meaning here in this case. Is it clear? Backward compatibility. Maybe. Other example. Let me give another example. For an example, I have written something like let me explain you something like machine learning from sklearn. Sir, you're writing a lot of code. I'm not able to follow. Don't mind, please. So I can explain all these things. Scikit-learn. So I want to perform the tree-based models. Import decision tree class. Decision tree classifier. Import decision tree classifier. So when import the decision tree classifier, so what has happened? So this function, for example, decision tree classifier, which is not available in Python 2 itself. Then how can I import this module in Python 2? That's what I mentioned. Backward compatibility is not possible from Python 3 to Python 2. Make sense?
Oh, got it.
Yeah. Now any questions, guys? Please. Yeah, go ahead, please.
These libraries are available in any other languages like Java or C++ to support the data science?
No, this is not available in other language. It is available in the Python.
Oh.
It is available only in the Python. Okay, perfect. Now we understand about the Python 2 and Python 3. So what are the features of Python programming language? Any questions, guys, before I go to the next step?
Yeah, Koti, like when you mentioned import Scikit decision tree, when do you go for decision tree?
See, when do you go?
No, I mean to say that I see. I am what I try to understand from you. How do we classify and when do you go for the recommendation? That is the subject case study you want to understand. Small example based on your experience. That's it.
See, let's do one thing. Because, if you want, I can explain, but people will go in wrong direction. We're talking about the Python. We are talking about the different case. That's what I'm worrying about. Can you do one favor to me? Don't mind, guys. Can you connect me the offline? I can explain each and every point to you. The reason is we are talking about the Python. People, it will go wrong direction if I start explaining the example about it. That is the meaning. Otherwise, no issues. Okay.
Yeah, understood, Koti. Like when you mentioned about a geo problem like billing payment and all the parameters.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, that is what like so many variables are there. You said 42 billion records I have worked. So we are not taking 42 billion records. For time being, how do we how do we understand decision tree? That how do the terms is coming like that? I just want to understand from that's it.
1 second, let me stop the recording for a minute. Okay. See, one point. Okay. If I want to explain the decision tree, if you have a more of categorical data or categorical variable, in order to, if you have a more of categorical variable to classify the data, for that purpose, we are going to use the decision tree. Decision tree is a kind of tree. I don't know how many people are understanding. Intentionally is okay. How many, it is a tree based form. Just to classify, it is one of the classification technique under the, it is basically giving a kind of node based. For an example, it is a tree based, it is a kind of family. For an example, family, maybe your grandfather. Root node is your grandfather. From grandfather to your father's father, maybe your father, your auntie, your father, brothers, brothers, maybe child 1, child 2, child 3. From this family we have maybe you and your sister, your brother, like this. Simple. This is a kind of tree based model. Basically, these end nodes, these are the end nodes. There is no further node to split. With the help of this end node, these nodes are also called as the leaf node. These middle nodes are called as the parent node or child node. The first node is called as the root node. Always a decision can able to make with the help of leaf nodes. Okay, but I don't want to dig in more. People may get confusion a lot at this point. If you have any questions, reach out to me personally. I'll explain to you. You can call to my number also. Okay, I will give you the number also at the end of the class. Okay, because topic is diverting and as well as people get the confusion, we're also missing the flow. I know your intention. Okay, you just want to understand what is happening in the background and all. But we have just started, right? That's the meaning. Okay, so what are the features of Python programming language? First is the readable format, easy to learn, free, open source, exception handling, libraries, large standard library, memory management, cross-platform. So Python supports for multiple programming languages. We can write in the Python in the Windows.
Cool.
Can you please? Yeah.
Okay. I think you need to start recording.
Oh, is it? Oh,
I think you
sorry.
stopped it.
Oh, sorry. Mistake it happened. I'm sorry. Sorry, I think, can you able to see my screen?
We can see your screen, but you need to start recording the session.
No, I think I have not stopped the recording.
Okay.
Stop the recording. I have not stopped the recording. It is recording. Okay. So we can support the different cross platform. Cross platform is nothing but Python supports for different platforms. So those are about the Windows, Linux, Unix, cross platform. Cross platform is multiple platform where we can write the Python code or where we can utilize install them. Even Mac also we can able to use. So readable is nothing but we can as a human, it is as we mentioned, it is a high level programming language. We can easily read the code or easily understand the code, well documented. I mean, what are the documents which are available? A syntax we can easily read, readable format, syntax understandable, coding understandable format. Easy to learn as compared to other programming language. Python is easy to learn, very small topics, very easy to learn, easy to perform, and most execution. Free and open source. Free and open source is nothing but you can freely get the documentation, you get the lot of support from the user community, customize your codes, and freely download lot of material also available freely for this. So exception handling, what do you mean by exception handling? Exception handling will help us while debugging your model or a project or application before going into production environment, So for an example, here you want to write a program for an example 1 by 0. What do you mean by 1 by 0? What is the answer? What will happen in general? Mathematically, 1 by 0. 1 by 0. What will happen generally? 1 by 0 is nothing but 1 by 0 is nothing. Infinity. Does the infinity exist in the real world mathematically? We always infinity, but we don't know. It never programmatically way it never exists. So it throws an error called zero division error. So suppose if I pass some application like this, I want to catch this error. I want to catch specific error called zero division error. Then we are going to use exception. We are going to perform the exception. Maybe for a particular location, I given file location, some locations, basically location. For an example, if the file is not found in this location, it will throw an error, file not found. We want to catch specific errors. For an example, suppose you build an application. You have enter the username, password. For an example, you type some password. Maybe you type the password 1234. If it is matches password, then only it has to open the application, right? Otherwise, what it says? Incorrect password. Am I right? Incorrect password. So you need to check, right, whether password is working correctly or not. You pass the random some numbers. It must have to throw some error, that is the incorrect password. You want to catch the specific errors. These are some specific errors. In order to catch specific errors, or in order to treat the specific errors, we are going to use the exceptional handling. Exceptional handling are performs while debugging the model, or while performing the deployment. Deployment means deploying the model or deploying applications into production environment. We may use these things. Okay. Large standard library. What does it mean? So Python almost, you remember, you won't believe, almost 7,000 libraries which are available in Python. Now you may get worried. Sir, do I need to remember all the libraries? No. We require to remember, or we need to remember only 15 libraries. Maybe like math library, numpy library, pandas, matplotlib, seaborn, like scikit-learn, like tensorflow, NLTK, textblob, OCR. Okay, these are some of the libraries which we need to remember. Of course, all the 7,000, there are some libraries which are dependency library, which is we are not going to know also, which we don't know also. And the most important thing is memory management. Garbage out collector. Garbage out collector is nothing but So what does it mean? So automatically for every 15 minutes or 1 hour, depends on your system settings, 1 hour automatically will clear it remove the idle variables, idle elements or idle data points, idle variable. Ideal variable means which you are not using from last 1 hour. Those variables will be removed, or which in the particular program or particular session, particular programming session, not particular point, particular piece of the code, particular programming session. Let's say you open the 5 session 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe you have not opened anything in the 4th 5 session. You have not done performing any operation. Automatically, Python itself clears the memory management. It clears the temporary files. It clears the temporary files. So that's how we can every 1 hour we'll get the free space. Every 1 hour we'll get the free space. That is the meaning of the memory management in this case. Memory management in this case. Now any questions guys? Any doubt? Okay. Now okay. So in our sir, where do I learn Python and all? So Python we are going to learn is Anaconda is a platform where we can learn, where we can use the Python. So every data scientist, 99% of the data scientists are using the Anaconda in the real world. Anaconda is a platform. Anaconda is a package manager or environment manager. So all the required data science libraries which are inbuilt available under the Anaconda, except 1 or 2 libraries like TextBlob is library which is not available. Like for an example, Fast AI is one more library which recently came from, which are developed by the Facebook, which is not available. Right, these are some of the, except a few libraries, remaining all other libraries which are available in the Python. If you want to download, so this is the website, will provide this PDF also, PPT also. Go to the Anaconda website, automatically it is directed to the Anaconda website. It is the Anaconda website. So here in this case, it talk about all the Anaconda and all. So as I mentioned, right, it is a directly Anaconda individual edition. Current version is the Python 3.8. So 64 GB graphical, depends on your OS operating system. It will be 64 GB and all. So it get additional. It can, for you want to go for the Windows, Mac, or Linux or Unix, we can use this. So the size, the memory size is the 477. So across the world wise, there are 25 million people are using. So to perform the R language or as well as Python language, we can use this one. Okay, we are going to use this one. So these are the Anaconda. What is open source? You can read it. This is self-learning. So these are something. These are some libraries. Something. Jupyter Notebook. It is an IDE, integrated development environment, where we are going to use in our course. SciPy, scientific Python. To perform the statistical operations in the Python, we are going to use the SciPy. Spider is an one more ID. Explicitly college students, in when you are college, we are going to use this ID. So Spider does not perform the parallel processing, whereas Jupyter Notebook perform the parallel processing. Jupyter Notebook also is one more advantage we can also use for coding purpose as well as a notebook purpose. NumPy is nothing but numerical Python. To perform the numerical operation, explicitly to perform the linear algebra, Fourier transformation. For that purpose, we can use the NumPy. Can you see the scikit-learn? Scikit-learn is nothing but to perform the machine learning algorithms. We are going to use scikit-learn. Bouquet for visualization we can use. Dask is for advanced version of NumPy and Dask is advanced version of NumPy. Matplotlib for visualization purpose we can use. Panel data is again coming from the pandas only. PyTorch was developed by the Facebook for deep learning applications. TensorFlow for it is developed by the Google for deep learning applications. Okay, Conda is a platform where you can manage all these things. So see here, build and train the machine learning models using the best Python package by the open source community, including TensorFlow, PyTorch, scikit-learn. Visualization point of view, how it looks like this. Okay, this is how we can getting started. Okay, Anaconda installer Linux depends on the operating system whether you want to go with the 34-bit, 32-bit, 64-bit and all. We can use these things Anaconda installer. Now, this Anaconda installer, suppose if I go here in this case, So download here, just download. For me, it's just downloading the 440 download. That's all. So in Anaconda, for commercial point of view, for more than 200 employees, you need to purchase commercial license. You need to purchase. So you can go with the individual edition. Watch tutorial also here, 12 minutes tutorial, how it works and all. How do you starting this and all. It may work. So no need to do all these things also. No need to install and all these things. Jupyter notebook. There is one Jupyter notebook, which is in control in which is in these things. I mean, okay. Let me tell you about one mail ID. Right. Is the correct. So just open the mails. Not now. Just open the mail. Just open the mail. I mean, once you open the Google Mail and all, no need to install also. There's other way I'm explaining. So here, can you see the data? I mean, can you see the here star? I mean, Google Apps. Can you see the here? Go to the drive. Go to the drive. Drive. Go to the drive. So in the new point of view, when you check in the more options, you can see the Google Collaboratory. You can see the Google Collaboratory. Of course, by default, it is not available for Google Collaboratory. When you check the more. So what you need to do first time when you're opening this, more go to the connect more apps. Subhani, you asked the question, sir, I don't have a laptop. Is there any way to use this one? Connect more apps. This is the connect more apps. Connect more apps. Just connect more apps. Search the collaboratory. Search collaborator. Collaborate. Just search the collaborator. It will ask you to install. So it will almost 5 million people have installed this one. Collaborate. Just it will ask the install. Of course, for me it is already installed. Just install this one. Just ask you the install. Once you install this one, go to the new, restart again, go to the new, more to Google Collaboratory. That's how you need to perform. Then it open this one and title like this. It will look like this. I'm just repeating guys one more time. Open your Gmail, go to the drive in the Gmail. When you have Google Apps, click on the drive, Google Drive. When you click on the Google Drive, can you see the left side? There is a plus symbol. There is a plus symbol called new symbol. When you click on the new, there is an option called more. So by default, you need to go with the connect. First time you need to go with the connect more apps. When you click the connect more apps, in the search button, you can search the collaboratory. Search the collaboratory. So for me, it is already installed. It will ask you to install it. Once you install, again close this all the Google Drive and all. Go to the new button. In the more option, you can see collaborator, Google Collaborator. Just open the Google Collaborator. This is how it looks like. I just last edited in the. Go ahead, please.
Does it download or install the Google Drive or in the local system?
Sorry. Hello.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Tell me.
Is it installed in the Google Drive or local system?
Google Drive only, not local system. Local system did not install anything.
Log out from the Gmail, then we are not able to use that, right?
Correct. So directly you can open the collab.research.google.com also. Directly you can open this one also. Or else you can also use the drive.google.com. So how do you get the collaborator? That's what I explained here. So untitled file. Okay. Here you can write the code, text, everything you can write this thing. Here one more thing, it is connected to GPU or as well as the local RAM also. It is connected to the local RAM or GPU. Connect. Suppose if you connect this, allocating some space. It is connecting. Initializing. Connected. So it is connected ROM or hard disk or RAM, whatever that. You can use the RAM. Just click on the RAM also. Okay. Upgrade Collab Pro. Where want more memory disk space? Just upgrade this one. Collab Pro is the one you want. So for that you need to pay the money $10 per month. We don't require for more space. Already we have the more space for our institute. We don't require to buy. Okay, go ahead please. Your questions. I can answer your question. Hello. Your voice is breaking. I don't know who is asking the question also. Hello. Bhargavi, I could not able to hear you.
Nothing, sir.
So who is asking the question? Someone is asking the question. I don't know. Okay. So this is how we can use the Google Collaboratory. But I will explain you in the tomorrow. I can explain you what is Google Collaboratory. And in the meantime, what you need to do once you install the Python, once you install the exe file, these are the steps you need to follow. Just go to the next. Just me. Whatever you need to follow the same steps. Continue. What is Python interpreter and all? We will discuss in the tomorrow session, because before you go into the Python interpreter and all, you must install the Python. So that is all about this. We'll share you the PPT in another 1 hour or so. Okay. I would request all of you to please install the Python itself today itself, so that in the practice